Hey, this is Sim, and
This is Ian.
we're here to talk about the psychology behind professional development.
We
Today's
got this.
topic is Friday highs and Sunday scaries, or the Sunday blues. Ian, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
How are you doing?
Can't complain. It's a Monday, so I don't have the Monday
Like,
blues, so
yeah.
it's pretty solid. How you doing over your neck of the woods?
Well, I have the Case of the Mondays. I don't know if you remember from Office Space. Such an
Yeah,
incredible film. Incredible film.
stands the test of time, you know.
It really
And if you
does.
haven't seen it, you need to go and pay if it's $5 on Prime Video, even if it's edited on Comedy Central. By all means, just you got to give yourself some time to see it because it is just fantastic. And
Yeah.
there may be some outdated things in there, but the theme is absolutely fantastic. You know, just some
It,
great characters. I love
Yes.
it.
And I love that movie because it kind of steers us to our conversation today,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
So, well, let's start by asking, have you experienced Friday highs or the Sunday blues?
Yeah, definitely. I think that everybody in their career has at one point or another. I think it's that the Friday high being you get to go into the weekend and you're looking forward to all the fun and all the excitement and maybe the rest and relaxation. Maybe have some amazing plans going on. And then and when your Sunday comes around, that high just kind of wears off and you just hit this sense of dread and you just wonder, do I have to go to work tomorrow? And I've been there countless times. It's happened many, many times. And again, I think, and we'll talk about it in this episode, is how do you deal with that? Why does it happen? How do you deal with it? Is it natural? Is this just part of the process that you need to go through in order to just be a part of the career lifestyle that you have? But yeah, I've definitely gone through this on many different occasions, many different positions, many different careers. I'm guessing, same as yourself, I'm guessing you probably have experienced that at least once in your life. Just once.
At least once.
At least once, yeah.
Maybe once this month. I don't know. Well, month just started, but
Yeah,
uh,
it's true.
you know, it is such a common factor in our professional life, right? We are we are excited and we look forward to those Friday TGIF, right? Thank goodness it's Friday. That feeling, the whole atmosphere, corporate atmosphere starts changing. It's like, okay, everyone's more relaxed, they're ready for the weekend, and the discussion becomes, what are you doing this weekend? It starts snowballing into like, oh my gosh, I'm excited to have this weekend. And as we are going through it, Saturday, Sunday comes, it's like that dread, like you said, it just overcomes and feels like a heavy weight on our chests. Okay, I have to get up and I have to do this again. We just joked about the Case of the Mondays or the Sunday.
Now, you just said something about you
Mhm.
feel on Saturday, or you felt it on Saturdays?
Yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And we'll touch on that. We'll touch
Yeah.
on that a little
Mm,
bit later. But yeah, sometimes people don't experience the highs. They're like,
right.
and we'll talk about the severity of it in a little bit later on this episode, but it can really take us away from our weekends, leave us drained at the end of the week, through the weekend, and then it just keeps moving forward as like low grade stress. So, yes, I've experienced it many times, and over time, I think I've started to recognize some symptoms that indicate that okay, you're not where you're supposed to be. You're not looking forward to these Friday highs anymore. What's happening?
And also, we're assuming that people are working Monday through Friday jobs. I've had
Exactly.
many positions where its weekends are part of the job. So you have this off. Maybe you're working a Wednesday through Sunday, so you have like a Monday and Tuesday off, or maybe you have 4 on, 3 off, and the 4 on,
Right.
3 offs change. So then
That's
it
true.
becomes, is there a constant feeling of highs and lows on certain days of the week, or does it shift at the same times your days off shift?
Yeah. And I think since you're bringing this up, I
Mm,
believe it shifts towards those 2 days off, 3 days off.
Mm,
But then there are so many individuals that have a day off here and then another work and day
right,
off, right?
right.
So the concept of the highs and lows, right? Of the Friday highs, Sunday scary, Sunday lows, Sunday blues, whatever you want to call them. I think the pattern changes.
Mm,
The highs and lows are a lot shorter for individuals that only have like a midweek 1 day break and then another day break, or those that have 3 day weekends, not on a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, just middle of the week,
yeah. And,
right?
and also, but not just that, you also figure now you're kind of putting yourself into a constant habit that
Yes.
as the Wednesday comes around, now you're kind of putting yourself into a mentality of, oh, well, Friday's coming up, so I'm going to feel really good after Friday. And then at the
Yes.
Saturday comes around, then you're saying, well, I know Sunday's going to come around, and that means Sunday night, I got to get ready because it's just going to be just this drop of how I'm going to feel because I know I'm going to work on Monday. So I think over time,
Hmm.
it's the expectation of how you're going to feel, and then of course it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because now you're feeling the way you were expecting to feel. And so, like I said, I have felt that many times, many
Yes.
times, and you just expect it to happen. You're just okay.
Hmm.
Well, you put it in your head that Friday's going to come around, and you know that people, like you said, are going to talk about what you can do this weekend. You're going to have these conversations, and you're going to have these great expectations of the weekend, and you're going to hear how they're going to be doing, and you're going to be jealous of what they're doing, and they might be jealous of what you're doing, but no one's going to be jealous of that Sunday night. No one's going to be jealous of that Sunday night because it's just that expectation of come Monday morning, there you could just from the get go on Friday how you're going to feel on Monday.
Yes. Yes. We call it anticipatory anxiety,
Yeah.
essentially. We are anxious about the upcoming week,
Mm,
all the things on our to-do list and all these other factors that make those scary thoughts.
right.
I think I want to rewind a little bit, but why
Yeah.
do you think we actually experience it? The highs and the highs and
I think the job itself has dictated that. I think maybe over time, maybe
Mhm.
we enjoyed the job, but now we're at a point within the job that maybe we're not liking the job. Maybe the job environment is just kind of stale. Maybe we're stuck in our career, and now we feel like we have to be in this job.
Yeah.
So the one constant that we're looking for in this stale mate, if you will, is at least I know on the weekend I got something good going on. That's the
Some
constant.
relief, right?
Yep, exactly right. That is the constant. It's not a holiday. Well, it kind of is a holiday, right? It's a 2 day off holiday, but it's the expectation of I know how to plan. I know that on that weekend,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do household chores. I'm gonna be the taxi. I'm going to be doing the shopping for something. I gotta go to this party. I'm gonna check out this football game, whatever it
Right.
is. You're looking forward to that more
Yes.
than you are the 5 days you're working. So that's why I think we've gotten so much into this mindset and the culture of, you know, the Wednesday is hump day. I got a
Hmm.
case of the Mondays. So in our culture, we've already set up the expectation of the Monday is going to be cruddy. Wednesday is hump day, so we're almost there to Friday. And then
Hmm.
Friday is great. Now it's the weekend.
Right.
So I feel like in our culture, we've kind of chunked our work week to
We
get it to the
absolutely,
weekend.
absolutely, absolutely, and oh my gosh, like as you were talking about this, I was thinking about like, okay, we have the case of the Mondays, the
Yep.
terrible Tuesdays, the hump
Hmm.
day, right? Pre Friday, and then TGIF,
Right.
right?
Right.
We're internally
Yeah.
and societally building up that I don't want to be here mentality, that mindset, right?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
case of the Mondays. Ugh, the dread. It's like, okay, I have to be here and so on. The terrible Tuesdays where so many meetings happen.
Right.
It's like, okay, we're
That's
going
right.
from one meeting to the next meeting into
Hmm.
the next meeting, and then that hump day, Wednesday comes around, and we're excited. We are at the summit of this
That's right.
week, right? After 2 p.m. Wednesday, it's downhill to our relaxation and to a way where we can escape the world, right? The rat race,
Right.
right?
That's right.
So why is it actually? Why do we actually experience it? It's because we're not fulfilled, right? And you touched on so many of it, right? The work, maybe it's boredom, you're not challenged, maybe it's 50 other things that compound. I'm not fulfilled, right?
And we're also kind of
Yeah.
focusing on the weekend. There have
Yes.
been times where you come home on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and it does not change. It's just a dread of going to work the next day.
Yes.
So that dread on the Sunday night kind of expands to maybe one other day during the week. And then next thing you know, that one day becomes 2 days. And then it becomes a snowball effect. So now
Yeah.
every day you're at work, when you come back home from work, you are just having that constant dread. And now you're really building up the weekend because that truly is your respite because you're not working. So, which
Absolutely.
again goes back to, is this the right job? If you're looking
Right.
forward to the respite more than, I mean, just that, I mean, there is, and I think people have a, thank goodness I don't have to go to work this weekend because, I have
Mhm.
to take a break. And that's totally natural, I think. But I think that when
Absolutely.
it comes to that dread, just kind of bleeds into weekly and in many cases daily, then that's
Mhm.
something to kind of really look inward and say, why is there so much dread on a daily, on a nightly basis? Because I guarantee
Yeah.
you, it's not just a nightly basis, it's a daily basis.
It absolutely can get to a daily basis.
Yeah.
And this is where we run into burnout, right? And burnout doesn't look like I've achieved burnout. And this will be a different episode because there's
Yeah.
so much to cover about burnout. But as the dread, that slow, low level stress just creep in from day to day, from weekend to week, work day, it just starts to be present constantly. And
Yeah.
this is where we look into acute burnout. Then if it continues to linger, it becomes moderate and then severe burnout, right? There's almost 12 different stages of burnout we go through. But if we're not talking about it because we believe burnout is like, okay, I'm burnout right here.
Right.
But there's so many factors, so many dominoes, so to say, that have to be in place for us to say, like, you know what, I'm burnt out, right?
Yeah.
And for me, and maybe many of us, like, I love my phone. I love the convenience it offers, but it is constantly on, right? My work will email me, my boss might message me, anything can go, and it's within hand's reach. It's like, oh, let me just, and it starts creeping in that there's no separation, there's no clear boundary between work and personal life.
Right.
So it starts creeping in. And why do we actually experience the Friday highs? Because there's hope instilled in us that, you know what, come Friday afternoon, I'm going to cut everything off. I'm going to go and enjoy my weekend because I'm doing these 5 days, 50-hour week, 40-hour week, whatever that is, so I can finally disconnect and step back and relax. Find that reprieve, like you mentioned. Oftentimes, that's not what actually happens, right? Because personally, when I am exhausted, all I want to do is be on the couch, watch my Marvel movies,
Mm.
right? Just binge on whatever's on there. That's not the healthy way of handling it, but that's what I've started doing because I don't have the energy.
Right.
I don't have the energy to make those plans of going out, having dinner, lunch, going to a sporting event. But again,
Yeah.
that's an individual talking.
Right.
When we're talking about family members, kids, that also takes up that time and takes up lifts that burden a little bit by having external plans. It's like, oh, okay. For example, my partner might have plans for us for the weekend.
Mhm.
I no longer have to think about it. I just have to show up.
Now, I think with that in mind,
Mm-hmm.
you are losing something from yourself in terms of
Yes.
you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for somebody else.
Yes.
So now that respite isn't really a respite, it's just at least I'm not at work.
Right.
So is that better that you're not at work, or you're going to be somewhere maybe that your partner wants to go to, you don't want to go to. However, you want to make your partner happy, and you feel that if you make your partner happy, you're going to be happy, right?
Yes.
And hypothetically, if it's like going to the opera, are you saying on Friday, you know what, man, I cannot wait to go to the opera over the weekends? Is that like your happiness? And
Right.
that's is something you look for. It's just,
Yes.
I don't
I
know.
love this example. I love this example because sometimes, right, yes, there is a burden lifted off us, right? We don't have to plan. At the same time, if it's an activity we don't want to go to, right, then it becomes a burden even heavier
Right,
because we can't disappoint, right? Just like we can't disappoint our colleagues, our manager, and so on, ourselves,
right.
right? We can't disappoint our partner, our family, and so on. So it gets back to the core challenges of having these highs and lows and that dread that we don't have ownership of how we choose to spend our time,
That's right. Yeah,
right?
and in addition to that, we are assuming that it's a black and white situation, that we're done
Yes.
with work on Friday and we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to touch work until Monday. And
Right.
in my past careers, that hasn't always been the case. That you may not be at work on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't mean you're done with work on Friday. And it just
Yes.
somehow you've got to check the email if you're on call, if you're a teacher and you have to do lesson plans, or you're doing professional development, or you're doing things that are helping your career, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not really having that respite that you are really looking for
No.
come Friday. And then on Sunday night, you look back, and I've said this many times, where did my weekend go? So many times. So many
Yes.
times. And it's
My
just
gosh.
and
Just
then
flies by.
it does. It really does because and sometimes not in a good way. You see what happened to the opportunity that
Mm-hmm.
was there for 48 hours. It's gone. And
It's
I
true.
didn't get to A, B, C, or D. The only thing that you have in your mind is, well, at least I wasn't at work. And that's
I laugh because it's so true that
right,
I, right? It's as if just escaping that environment is enough,
right.
but it's not, right? That environment can change one moment to another. It's really our internal psychology, mental, emotional challenges, right, that we have to overcome so we can say we are done. We're creating these boundaries to separate ourselves, but we don't talk about it.
I think we should though. I think it's one of those. I think we're just so stuck in a mentality that it is going to work, it is coming home, and it is
It's
this
paying our
dread.
dues.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's just, you're just truly checking off boxes and going through the motions,
Exactly. Yes.
And I think it is time to kind of step back and think about where this anxiety is coming from, how it's affecting your lifestyle, how it's affecting your sleep, your eating, your personality as a whole,
Mhm.
because it isn't just tired. Tired is a byproduct of it. It's
Yes.
everything
It's a
else.
symptom.
It truly is. It
Yeah.
truly is. And again, I can tell you, my better half can tell you that, there are certain careers where I was not in a good place, even on the
Mhm.
weekend, because I was so tired. And every day I came home, I was tired. And that word comes up so often in many careers. And again, we're
Yes.
also assuming that we're doing a Monday through Friday at the office.
Right. Right. And
Sometimes there's RTOs that are 4 days, that are three
mhm.
days. And maybe now it's that dread is quicker versus the Friday night
Right.
to Sunday morning situation, or Friday night, Sunday
There's
night.
a cultural part to the Friday to Sunday,
Mm.
right? Majority of professional careers, right, operate on that timeline. Friday afternoon to Sunday will have the weekend, right? Super Bowls, sporting events, everything is geared towards those 2 days
Right.
to take on different events. All these things are anchored on those 2 days. But to your point, there's so many different schedules out there, right? Do they still feel the same? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love that you started using the word tired so many times because it starts losing value, right?
Right.
One of the common things that people say is like, "How are you? Fine,"
Mm-hmm. Yes.
right? Because tired is only a generic term just to say like I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, I am mentally drained. These are additional terms that can help us vocalize how we are tired.
Yeah.
What is it that is exhausting us, draining our energy that we're not seeing here, right? And oftentimes my partner will ask like, "You okay?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm tired." "Yeah, but tell me more."
Right.
Right? Give that
Right.
moment to like, okay, well, this was a mentally exhausting day because I had to do mental tasks, right? This was a physically exhausting day because I had physical tasks, right? This was emotionally exhausting day because I had emotional tasks, right? There's so many different elements that go through that word of tired, right? And if we don't start separating that, not separating, but dismantling it to understand where we are tired, right? How do we invest in our weekends to say, like, you know what? I'm emotionally exhausted. So let me go ahead and do things that are going to be emotionally fulfilling because I need to recharge that battery, right?
I
So we
think
need to be
yeah.
careful with how we start expressing ourselves.
And I think that you
This episode is sponsored by Balanced at Last, my coaching services. That's balancedatlast.com. If you are curious about how I can help you, please schedule a free consultation call, a 20-minute call to assess your challenges and ways my services can help you. Mention you are a podcast listener and receive 20% off your coaching services. Offer valid for a limited time. Visit balancedatlast.com or scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description below. Thank you for listening.
mentioned, which is a great opportunity, is when someone asks you why. Kind of get because tired is as easy as an answer is how you're feeling, and the answer is good.
Yep.
That's is those one word answers. Now you have the opportunity to go beyond those one word answers to specify why you're feeling a certain way. And then
Yeah.
maybe from there, to your point, you can, if you're emotionally tired or something at work is making you this tired, can you switch responsibilities? Can you give responsibilities to somebody else on a Monday? Or can you redesign your Monday where it's not an overload when you come back to work?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you kind of step into it. Maybe you have someone who works with you take on a responsibility, or you switch responsibilities, or you do something differently. So you're not walking in just this overwhelming sense of everything needs to be done right now after I just had this enjoyable 48 hours and now this dread is really kicking in high gear because I
Yeah.
have to do all these 2,500 meetings in 3 hours.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know,
And this goes back to that core challenge of having ownership on how we use our time and energy,
right,
right? Because oftentimes we feel like if we are not the only person doing this, right, it's all on us or nothing, right? We can't delegate. There's a fear. And we will definitely talk about imposter syndrome and that delegation fear, right, in a later episode.
right,
But there's that fear is if I don't own all of it, right, then my performance will be challenged, right? I won't be the best that I can ever be, but at what cost, right? And this is where it's so important for us to start recognizing the core challenges, core triggers that get us to that tire, right? Your example of maybe it's a project you're working on, maybe it's a colleague, right? Maybe it's a situation that really drains your energy versus it's a situation that fulfills your energy,
right, right.
right? I go back to our energy because as I've gained more and more experience, time is a limited resource and we all get 24 hours a day, right? And I look at people, I'm like, okay, how are you able to accomplish this much really high, right? And then I look at other people, how are you able to accomplish this much where it could be lower than, average? It goes back to energy, right? Are you efficiently using your time, your energy, and your time to create the life you want to live?
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine the energy you're putting into something that's disrupting you over the weekend. That's something
Yes.
that carried over from the work week that is living rent free in your head. And that energy could be putting into something you enjoy doing. Instead, you're just kind of absorbing that aspect of why you're so tired and who is
Yes.
tiring you and what is tiring you. And you're just kind of in this constant state of being sucked into this problem. And again, to your point of putting the energy in the right places,
Right.
it, I'll be honest, it's not easy.
It's not
From
easy.
a
It's
personal
not.
standpoint, it is not easy to get something out of your head rent free. It is
Oh,
not
no.
easy. That's because it's so for me, unfortunately, it's so easy to invite the negative in and to keep it in. It's
It's so
harder.
true.
It's so much difficult to say,
Mhm.
this isn't right. I like to do something else now. I don't want to be stuck in this
Yes.
gray cloud anymore.
Yes.
And but it takes a while. It takes a
It
while to get
does.
out of that mentality. Oh man, it
It
takes a
does.
long
Here's a
time.
here's a here's a I don't I can't call it a fact. Okay.
Okay,
Here's in my industry, right?
fair.
There it takes one negative thought, right, equals five positive thoughts. Think about that.
I mean, the
Okay.
energy
When we
itself
have
to get into it,
mhm,
to think of one
to
negative
to
thought.
nullify one
Oh,
negative
okay.
thought, you need five positive thoughts. And when negative thoughts starts to ruminate, it multiplies a lot fast because we tend to be hard on ourselves. We will give everybody all the compassion, all the empathy in the world, but when it comes to us, we're different, right? So
Yeah,
when we are thinking about going for a better life, it's really about increasing the positive energy, positive thoughts, right? And also recognizing negative thoughts will be there. It's part of the balance, right? But if it's 5 and 5, then you're losing.
right.
You're feeling more drained, right? If it's 1 and 10, one negative, 10 positive, then you're winning.
Right.
But it's right here in our minds that we create our reality. Again,
Ne-
let me put an asterisk to that statement. Right? There's a lot of external factors that contribute to our mind's
right.
interpretation. So going back to the escape of the work week, what can we actually do to get ourselves back? It's so difficult to figure out, but I think we've already
It is.
touched on some of the things,
Yeah,
right? Asking the
agreed.
why questions. Why am I tired? Which parts of me is tired? I've I've loved this example. Is if you are working in a physically taxing job during the week, you should not be doing it during the weekend. You shouldn't focus on physically taxing activities because you're already stretched yourself, and vice versa. If you're in a mentally stimulating task profession, then you need to focus on doing more physical. That way, you can give your mind time to rest so you can start creating that balance.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think that as a society, we put so much emphasis on the weekend that if we don't fulfill those expectations on the weekend, then we feel like the weekend was a waste.
Oh,
So now we have to, so instead of putting so
yeah.
much emphasis on saying, I have to get through the week to get to the weekend, maybe bringing in the reins a little bit and say, okay, well, let's look at the work week as a whole. And can I do something for myself each day before work? Can I at least lighten the load mentally every day? At the end of the week, during the weekend, I'm not putting
Mm-hmm.
so much stress on myself to have this respite on the weekend. What is there anything that we can do to lighten that load if we need
Yeah.
to, if when I would on occasion maybe do some drawing in the morning, or if I would just kind of breathe for a few minutes in the morning. So those days aren't as, and again, is this easy to do? No. Does this work for everybody? Not even close. But everybody has something that they can rely on to make them
Mhm.
feel 5% better, whatever it
Absolutely.
is. Whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because giving all of its ownership to, I'll deal with it on the weekend,
Yep.
right? To
That's
your
right.
point, it just piles things on for the weekend. And if we don't meet everything on that list, then we have that internal thought. It's like, I'm a failure because I didn't
Right.
get it done,
Right.
right? No, you made progress. I wish everyone that's listening to it, celebrate progress.
Yep.
All right, not completion. I don't care about
Right.
completion.
That's right.
Right, progress. That 5%. Okay, each day, whatever you do, celebrate progress.
Yeah.
Right,
Or 1%. You know what? If you
absolutely.
could only do 1% based upon your extenuating circumstances, 1% is better than 0%. You
Yes,
know,
it is. Yes, it is.
and that's
Ha-
okay.
yes, I was working with a client and I rephrased something. It's like, yes, I'll get there one day. Right? I love and hate that phrase. Have you
Mm.
heard this phrase? Like, yeah, I'll get there one day.
Mm.
Right? And I
Yep.
said, okay, you know what? Let's pause for a second. And let's sit, instead of saying one day, let's say day one,
I like that.
right? Day one, that brings back ownership of today is day one, not one day somewhere in the future, sometime, maybe if I remember, and so on and so
Right.
forth, right? Returning it back to our
I
accountability,
like that.
right? Day one, we're doing this,
Right.
right? Doing research. So, for example, on Monday, I had a case of the Mondays. I need to do something in the evening so I can have some rest,
Right.
recover some of that energy. Again, going back to what was the stressful parts of that day, right? I think we do a great job if you're commuting to work, right? If it's a 10-minute commute, 30-minute commute, wherever it is, we try to disconnect from work in that drive. But we fail to reflect on the day during that drive because we're either listening to the radio, music, listening to horns, stuck in traffic, right? This continues to create a negative mindset for us where we can say, hey, what went well this Monday, right? What is one challenge I experienced this Monday? What is one thing I can do to address this challenge if it happens again? How will I celebrate this one win? Notice I'm only asking for one.
Okay.
We can all think about that one. So if we can start bookending, is that the right term?
Okay. Sure.
Bookends, yeah,
Bookending, but
sure,
absolutely. So
right?
I could do with that.
As we walk to the car or as we close our laptop, wherever, if we're teleworking, remote working, right, wherever we are, we can take 5 minutes out of that busy schedule to say what went well, one thing went well, what was one challenge, what can I, what's one thing I can do to improve that challenge, what's one way I can celebrate my progress. What do you think would happen?
I think if I can add on to that, I think if the
Yeah.
timing would not so much in the commute for me, for others, it probably works, it's going to be dead on. For me, that commute probably isn't the time because of, like you mentioned, you've got
Mm-hmm.
cars, you got music. You probably think to yourself, I don't want to think about work right now. I just need to focus
Mm-hmm.
on getting home, doing
Yes.
A, B, C, D, and E. And then if there is a trigger at home that
Mm-hmm.
says, okay, after dinner, before I go to bed,
Right.
I'm going to reflect. So now you have something in your day as a
Right.
habit, and you know when you're going to do it, and it's going to be after you've done all of your majority of your responsibilities on a nightly basis or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you know this is the time I'm going to set for myself and say, to your point, these are the challenges. What challenge did I experience today? How could I have done it differently? What can I improve upon tomorrow?
Right.
And so each day doesn't have to be so heavy
Yeah.
and so just sometimes made disheartening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to challenge you here.
Hmm. Okay.
All right. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to challenge you here.
Okay, here
Oh,
we go.
okay. Because why not do it before you leave work?
Hmm.
Make that part of your work ritual, work routine,
That's a good one.
right? Because again, that mentality is, let me not be distracted by work again, to your example, right? Let me
Mm-hmm.
get home, get my chores done,
Mm-hmm.
spend time with the family, and then re-invite work. Why?
Hmm.
Don't re-invite work,
Hmm.
right? Take that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you need. Again, start off with five,
Right.
see if you need more, right? And build it into your workday
Right.
because it is part of work. And this is what I want people to understand as they listen to our conversation is we need to start separating work and life to have a better balance. Because if we keep inviting our work back into our personal life, just like this phone, is going to start creeping in. And that starts creating a blur between these two worlds. I'm not saying it shouldn't exist or it should
Right.
exist. I'm just saying in this scenario, right? To blur it, then we're tiptoeing around everything. So that's why I'm going to challenge you on that.
Gotcha. These are good options. I think that your point, you know, I'm kind of inviting it in because of there's time to sit down, to think about it, to be in a comfortable state. And you're saying
Mm-hmm.
to do it before you leave work,
Yes.
so it stays at work.
Yes.
Solid. Both, I think. I mean, since I'm a little biased, both I think are solid examples of something's
Absolutely.
got to work for somebody, right? It's
Yes.
not there's not a one size fits all
There isn't.
of any situation or of any
There
solution.
isn't. The reason I say make it in work, because oftentimes our mind will think about our work during our personal time. In the opening, we talked about how sometimes I'll feel this Sunday scaries, Sunday dread on Saturdays because I've already started thinking about the upcoming week, right? It has already taken my energy out. So I can't be present with my family, my friends, because oftentimes it goes towards that attachment, and we'll talk about that in another episode,
Yep.
right? Of I have to get things done, right? There's a pressing deadline, or there's criticism
Mm-hmm.
that's coming my way if I don't
Mm-hmm.
do that. So many thoughts, so many negative thoughts, right? Fill up the mind that, and this also goes towards burnout. When it starts creeping in more often, you can't escape it, right? You're experiencing higher and higher levels of burnout.
Yeah. And I think that burnout isn't a destination.
Oh no,
And I
we
think it's
all
maybe
have it.
right. And I think that maybe it's seen as a destination, and these are
It
steps
is.
you have to take in order to get to burnout. And I think there's many times that burnout is a continual process,
Yes,
but it's recognized on the later stages. In
it
some
is.
cases, the too late stages, right? It's just too late. You're burned out.
It's true.
Versus, I can kind of feel myself getting to a point where I'm feeling myself now different
Mm-hmm.
from 3 months ago or 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
But that's again to your
And
point. Another time we talk about burn.
another time, right? Just to touch on it, because I know I can speak for hours on burnout. Just to touch on it, we
Uh,
don't recognize we're in burnout. We're in burnout. It is we have been burnt out, and then some. Then it's like almost like 6 months later.
mm,
Oh my gosh, we've been burnt out for a while,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's why it's not a like you said, it's not a destination. It's part of the journey. And if we're
Yeah,
not aware of the triggers that increase our burnout levels, then we're getting to severe burnout a lot faster.
that's right.
Again, we'll talk about that in a different episode. But going back
Yeah,
to, I'm checking the time right now. We're at 45 minutes in this conversation, which is
right.
fantastic. So just to end
Yeah.
in the next 5 minutes, what are some things our listeners, our viewers can do to manage these Friday highs and Sunday blues?
Yeah, I think that this is definitely an easier said than done scenario. in terms of realistically, can you turn it off? Is it an option? Yes. Is it realistic for some people? It probably is. But for some
Yeah,
people, it's just you can't turn it off because work is coming to you constantly. It's not, it doesn't end at Friday at 5 o'clock and start again at Monday at 9 o'clock. And so, is there a way to turn it off a little bit throughout the
right.
weekend? That's the thing is, and we say these generic statements of all you have to do is, and the reality
Yes.
is we cannot do that. Life does not happen that way. So I
No.
think that one of the recommendations is, can we reduce something by 5%?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
That's it. And I again, it's a very generic statement, but if you can
Right.
reduce on your phone 5% over the weekend, if you can reduce thinking about a project or this person said something negative
Hmm.
about me by 5%, if you can spend more time with fill in the blank by 5%, anything to kind of improve or reduce an action by 5% over the weekend, I think over time it will definitely help your weekends out a little bit more.
Absolutely right, Ian. Like for me, it's that 5%, but you're also building that resilience, right? That's all it is, because it's not a on and off switch, right? It's almost like a dimmer, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
constantly and intentionally work on, okay, I'm lowering it by 1%, I'm lowering
Mm-hmm.
by 5%, whatever that is. And the ways you can do this is by asking yourself healthy questions, right? Why am I tired? What are some of the categories that I'm tired in,
That's right.
right? What is not fulfilling? Here's the categories of life, right? Of my career. And once we start seeing it, our mind is an incredible, powerful tool. But if we don't write it down, I've been holding my pen all, right? If
I
we
saw
don't
that.
write it down, we don't see it, right? What happens is when we start engaging with our devices, again, I love my device,
Right.
but jotting things down on a device versus writing in pen and paper, writing in pen and paper engages multiple parts of our brain. So we can start thinking creatively, where typing, texting our challenges, right? It's not as dynamic. So what can you do? Focus on starting to dim the experiences
Right.
by asking healthier question of why, categorizing which areas I'm not happy in, identifying what you can do, right? Plan out some of the activities. Have a conversation with your partners
Mm-hmm.
saying like, "Hey, I want to go see this Marvel movie." Okay, I've dropped Marvel way too many times. They need to be our sponsor for some reason,
Well,
right?
here's hoping.
Right. Just by having these dialogue and conversation with depth is going to help us. One of the hardest thing and easiest thing to do is opening up. It is hard because we feel like we are going at this by ourselves. No one else has ever experienced the Friday highs and the Sunday scaries. And we don't talk about it. We don't
Right.
see posts about it as often, right? But one of the greatest ways to relinquish that control, that power it has, is to talk about it. And that's what we're here to do on this podcast. We want to get behind the how did I write it? Or how did my wife write it? Talk about the psychology. That's it. Talk about the psychology behind professional development. There's so many topics to cover.
Yes.
But today's episode has mainly focused on the Friday highs and the Sunday lows, Sunday
Right.
blues, right?
Right.
And any last
Yeah.
words? We're at 50
No.
minutes.
Well, I tell you, great timing, and hopefully this will help out a little bit, and maybe it will solve a problem, or maybe it'll ignite something that will have a domino effect that will help solve a problem.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Stay curious, right?
absolutely, yep. Can't agree more.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Thank you so much for joining us and being part of the conversation. We hope this episode has given you some insight on your journey to a more balanced and fulfilling career. Please find Beyond the 9 to 5 a balanced career on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. Thank you for joining us.